What's the name of the school?
In Jinja it was the Jinja Government School, and in Kampala it was Kololo School. And I have some memories in relation to the school was predominantly Indian students. But when I did my O-levels, that was the first time we had a few African students in.
And what year was that, more or less?
That would be late, about mid-60s, about 63, 62, sometime like that. And I remember sort of trying to be friends, but a little bit of reservation on their part. And at that time I wasn't politically very aware, and I sort of thought, why are they not being friendly? But I now look back on it and I can see our position of Asians vis-a-vis Africans, you know, in terms of power relations was such that they probably felt a little bit out of, you know, in a way not pretty much at home, I suppose. They didn't feel too much at home at that time. And so I became conscious of that if you are sort of somebody who is not on the same par in terms of power relation with somebody else, your relationships are not sort of natural, so to speak, you know, that there are some underlying tensions, no matter what good intentions you might have. So
do you think that these are things which were questioned at the time as well?
I think we didn't question them too much. I think I was just becoming aware of it. But then when I did my O-levels, I think I was much more, A-levels, sorry, when I moved to Kampala, then we had a couple of African students, one European descent student, and the rest of us were South Asians. And I think I became a lot more aware then, partly because of some teachers, you know, who sort of introduced us to literature that made us more critical about the situation there. But it was really after leaving Uganda itself that I became much more tuned into the subtle differentiations, social differentiations in Ugandan society.
But what about in everyday life? Did you interact?
Yes,
on
but
what areas and where would you interact, Asians and Africans together?
Well, up until my O-level year, I only had contact with Africans in relation to servants. And although my parents were very quote-unquote kind people, nonetheless, I think, you know, you're aware that this person is a servant. But when I went to Kampala, I think by that time independence had already happened and things were beginning to change. And as I said, both in our school there were African students, and I lived in a hostel for women for a little while. And in fact, one of the students there was one of the princesses from Uganda, and I remember we became quite good friends at that point. And I was staying with some, later on I left the hostel and I was staying with some cousins, and they used to bring African political friends, you know, home. So I think things were beginning to change by that stage.
And tell me a bit more about in school. Do you remember what you were taught in school about race relations or, you know, hierarchies among people? Do you remember anything from your school books, your teachers?
No. The education system didn't address those questions at all. But especially in school rather than in Kampala, in Jinja particularly, because I was doing up to my O-level, so, you know, so primary school and secondary school. It was slightly different at my A-level, so that's only because I had one or two teachers who were quite themselves politically aware.
But were your teachers Asian or white or?
Well, up to about O-levels, the first year of O-levels, they were all Asians. But for my O-levels, I had some white students, white tutors, teachers, and some Asians.
Black teachers?
No black teachers. I've never had a black teacher in Uganda. No.